Hey everyone, did you know that China used to have a ruthless emperor that would make anyone who dared to stand against him or who dared to opposing him will tragically meet their end? Well, here, let me introduce you to the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang. So, in the early years, Qin Shi Huang was born as a prince with the name Yinzheng. He was only 13 years old when he took over the throne after his predecessor died. And that time when he became as the king of the Qin state is already a powerful state in China and was known as the barbaric state. And because that time he was very young when he ascended to the throne, his mother, the Queen Dowager, and the counselor Lu Buwei helped him to manage the government, and then he finally took control of the throne once he turned 22 years old. After he ascended to the throne, he was successful for turning down the rebellion in the country. And then after he successfully turning down the rebellion, he the first thing that he did was to imprison his mother's lover because he was included in the rebellion and have had him executed. And then as for Lu Wei, he was exiled and then died by committing a suicide. And so not only that, he also defeating the six other states, which is Han, Zhou, Wei, Yan, Zhu, and Qi, and declared himself as the first emperor of the unified China and called himself as the Shihuang. And now Qin Shi Huang has become an emperor of the big nation. What else that he was afraid about? Well, as the ruler, especially of the big nation, he also has many things that he was afraid of, such as an assassination attempt and the rebellion from the neighboring country. Well, to avoid that, he ordered to make a great wall as the defense fortress against the barbaric invasion from the north. And now we all know this fortress as the Great Wall of China. And a little bit of information, this Great Wall was built by the slaves and prisoners. He was an emperor with a big achievement. Yet also Qin Shi Huang had done something ruthless. When he ruled China, he saw the Confucianism and another ideas as the threat or against his authority because that time he adopted an idea of legalism, which is a philosophy that prioritizes strict laws, reward, and punishment in order to build a strong country. So then he buried all the books that were against the legalism that time, and even the scholars who opposed his ideas were buried alive. And not to mention the forced labor when building the Great Wall, he also made the tax very high as the funds of his military soldiers, and which is it get to the point when his people are burdened. And on the year of 210 BC, uh, Qin Shi Huang died when he was on his tours in eastern China. The prime minister Li Se decided to hide the information about the emperor's death to prevent major conflict before they reached to the central palace because it took them 2 months to get to the central palace. So then he ordered the two carts that contain rotten fish to be carried before and after the emperor's wagon to hide the smell of his decomposed body because his body started to rotten uh, as it was that time was a summertime. So then the emperor was buried in a massive burial tomb that was built for himself. And that burial tomb was filled with the terracotta army to guide him even in the afterlife. So after his death, his son Ying Huhai took over the throne after his death. But because he is an ineffective ruler and he was easily getting manipulated with his prime ministers, his reign didn't last long. And then the Qin Empire was fall down because of internal conflict and rebellion after 4 years after the death of Qin Shihuang. Well, despite his ruthless personality, his achievement remains important to the Chinese history until this day. That's all the presentation that I can deliver to you. Thank you.